Hey everyone, my name is Jordan Powers. I am the producer of The Art of Real Estate Cinematography. So as I mentioned in the title, we're going to be covering the top 10 things that I learned about real estate cinematography. Now the reason Nick, who is the face of the course, is not here doing this is because I wanted to give you kind of a little mini training based on what I learned out of this. Now I went into this course as I would consider myself an intermediate cinematographer or videographer. And I know that the majority of you are either going to be a beginning photographer or videographer or an intermediate. There's going to be some of you that are advanced. I'd encourage you to still stick around. You may get something from this. In fact, I know you'll probably get something from this. Now, first I'll tell you a little bit about me. So I'm a Southern Minnesota-based real estate, architecture, interior design photographer. Years before I even picked up a DSLR, I was working with video. I actually worked in a commercial studio in 1998, 1999 when I first learned how to edit. And in the early 2000s, I was making, short films with my friends along with, the occasional wedding and, promotional video or event video. And I even produced a super low budget mini documentary about, of all things, Midwest graffiti culture with my camcorder sometime around early 2001, 2002. And I think at that time I was using Adobe Premiere. It was Adobe Premiere 7. So this kind of brings you back to how long ago this was. And the technology really just wasn't there. It was really inconvenient to do video. The computer, the consumer computer wasn't really strong enough to just do long form video. So I kind of stopped doing it. And it wasn't until the 5D Mark II came out that I, kind of reignited my interest and passion for video in the first place. So I think that was maybe 2011, 2012 when the Mark II came out, and I began creating promotional videos and little mini documentaries of local businesses in my area, which really helped me to lean in and learn the art of filmmaking. Now, in 2011, I started my real estate photography business, and I think it was 2 years later, in 2013, I made my first real estate video. Since then, I've made hundreds, but it wasn't until this year that I finally realized that my videos haven't really improved all that much since I first started. And while my equipment is better and my skill set has improved, there was just something missing from the work that I was putting out. What I've observed over the years, especially the last few years, is that people have been posting some amazing videos on the Facebook groups, and a lot of them are they're flashy, they're dynamic, a lot of cool new techniques that they're adapting from other genres of film and video. And a lot of them have like really cool effects, and honestly they look great overall. They're awesome looking for the most part, but I personally wasn't finding myself inspired by them. But then I started noticing the work of Nick, and for those of you who don't know Nick, his name is Nick Schwartzendruber. His company is Jerome Cowboys. He's based in Northern California, and he's the one who is the face of this course. He's going to be teaching everything that we're going to be learning throughout the course. I do come in and I teach some things, but for the most part, you're going to be job shadowing Nick throughout the entire course. So anyway, back to Nick. There was just something about his work that sucked me in every time I watched it. His videos weren't flashy. They had a certain color to them that just felt kind of real. They weren't overly saturated. It just looked very natural. And I'd say the main thing I noticed was that they each told a story. In short, they were cinematic, okay? And there was an actual art behind them. If you're kind of noticing a theme here, art, cinematic, kind of goes in with the title. So while I knew technically how he was pulling these off, I wanted to learn how he actually made them. I wanted to learn what his thought process was and pretty much anything that I could. I was kind of becoming tired, as I mentioned earlier, of the work that I was doing, and I really wasn't serving my clients by making work that I wasn't really proud of. So I wanted to reach out to Nick and start asking him some questions. But I knew from experience that I couldn't really just learn a few things by asking him a few questions here and there. I needed to immerse myself in it if I really wanted to change my approach to video. And I knew others felt the same from talking to people within the community. So I thought that maybe by making a course could be the best approach. So I literally wrote down every question that I could possibly think of, and I scoured the Facebook groups for hours, writing down all the questions that everybody else had. And they pretty much aligned with mine. And I started to put together a curriculum. This was even before I reached out to Nick, I started doing this, because these are just the things that I wanted to learn. So it was literally September 18th that I reached out to Nick about the idea, and less than 1 month later, I was in California for 4 days filming and learning everything that I possibly could. So that's how the course came about, and if you're still sticking with me, we're finally to the meat of the content. We're going to talk about the top 10 things that I learned during those 4 days as it relates to real estate cinematography. Number one, every home has a story. Okay, when I hear the word story as it relates to filmmaking and other things, I kind of cringe a little bit. I guess I did in the past because I thought it was kind of just a word that people threw around and didn't really know what they were talking about, to be honest with you. But when I watch Nick work, he creates many stories within his films. And what I mean by that is he will take, no matter the size, you have to kind of ask yourself, how would a person navigate and utilize that space? So when they walk inside, where are their eyes going to first go? What decor would stand out? Now, for me, I've always just kind of documented the space and never really paid attention. But when I noticed Nick working, he would, for instance, walk into a room. He would get kind of an establishing shot of what room he's in. And then you kind of ask yourself, where would your eyes go? Are they going to go to the picture windows? Are they going to go to, the red knobs on the wolf range in the kitchen? Like, where are your eyes first going to go and tell that story? Again, he would take, whether it's a small, modest home or a larger, like luxury home, and we cover both of these in the course. He would take these and, you first walk into a room and you kind of determine, okay, how am I going to show this room? Am I just going to walk in and show the room? What are the details within this room that I am going to pay attention to as a first-time viewer, not just a viewer of the video, but if I'm actually here in person? Am I going to notice the picture windows first? Am I going to notice how the sunroom, I can see the sunroom right as I walk through the door? Like, where's my focus first going to go? And what you do as you create these little mini stories and kind of piece them all together, it helps the viewer to navigate through the house a little easier, how they actually would, and it kind of gets them sucked in. Again, you can do this with, a smaller home or a larger home and use people. It doesn't really matter. Every type of video is the same. Okay, number two, your pacing should match the lifestyle of the home. So if I'm shooting, a cabin in the woods, for example, I'll probably opt out of party music or EDM or whatever. If I'm shooting a condo in New York City, on the other hand, I'll likely avoid country music. You see what I'm saying? Now for me, I've always just kind of picked out the music that I like personally, regardless of the property. And usually that's some kind of like ambient or modern soundtrack. I would actually have a whole library of songs that I would just pull from. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But what I find now is that I actually prefer going to the website where I download my music, and I will kind of put myself back into the home that I was at, and I'll start listening to music and find the one that best matches the mood, the pacing, the tone, the time of day. I'm going to find music that actually matches the visuals of that home or the lifestyle of that home. Okay, number three, use people to motivate camera movements. Especially the last few years, we've been seeing a lot of higher-end real estate videos that have models or actors in them. And what they're intended to do is give a perception of the type of lifestyle that a buyer could have. Now, what I have noticed is that oftentimes these models, they don't really tell a story. I mean, they do, but they're kind of just, you put an attractive person in there that is fun to look at, and it becomes distracting from the actual property that you're trying to sell. It's selling a lifestyle, but it's more selling the vanity part of the lifestyle. So what I noticed that Nick does is he uses people not just to sell a property, but he actually uses people to navigate the viewer throughout the scene. For example, we shot a difficult front exterior that was blocked by landscaping and shrubbery, so we couldn't really get a good shot of the front of the house. So instead, Nick used multiple shots of smaller details of the front of the house, and he used people to navigate through the front of the home, which painted a much better picture of what the front of the home actually looked like, or what it was like to be in the front of the home. Now you'll actually see us recreate this scene in the course, but here's the original scene that Nick filmed that I was just referencing. Number 4, keep the viewer engaged by interrupting patterns. Now, I have applied the same kind of principle when it comes to branding, putting my portfolio in order. I learned that from my coach, Tony Colangelo. But it's just kind of a good rule of thumb in general. People tend to get bored when they know what's coming next, when things become predictable. So strategically using different angles and focal lengths and even different scenes to help keep your viewer engaged is going to give you longer view times because the video is just simply more interesting. Prior to this filming, my go-to flow for a property video is, start with aerial shots, do a ground view of the front of the home, walk through the house, show every room, end up in the backyard, from the ground, and finish with aerials if we're doing aerials. Done. Now these are informative and they do give you a good, thorough walkthrough of the home, but everyone kind of knows what to expect with these. And there's really no reason to watch once they've seen the exterior because, one, people definitely judge a book by its cover. But two, when most of the properties you shoot are all kind of the same, like I'm in the Midwest and most of the properties where I shoot here are a lot of split levels, a lot of like bungalows or rambler homes or ranch homes. There's just nothing super unique about them. So you have to keep the viewer kind of engaged because they almost think they know what they're going to expect. But if you can get to the point where you're creating videos where they don't know what to expect, they're going to look forward to watching them every time. I believe Nick's average watch time for his videos are around 2.5 minutes. Now, the flow of the home isn't necessarily important. You can get by with making scattered images, just things that kind of look cool, but you have to do it strategically. Now, there's a lot of fast-paced, high-energy, videos out there that look really neat, but it's just incredibly hard to understand the flow of those homes because they're just kind of scattered everywhere. And the challenge with those is that while they look cool, our brains have a hard time making sense of them. So you have to be subtle with it. For example, if you start with a detail shot of the inside of the home that kind of teases the viewer with what's to come if they continue to watch, that could be helpful. So there's one shot that Nick did of a home where he started off by filming like one of the beams in the home. So once you go into that home, there's gonna be some wood beams. It gives you something to look forward to. And he didn't use that frame as he used it as almost like a background frame to put a title over that. But it's a little bit of a teaser. So let's just say you start off by doing one of those detail shots, and then you go to an aerial shot, and then you can follow that by a tighter aerial shot, and then you can follow that by a shot from the ground, followed by another aerial shot. You get the point. If you mix it up instead of just doing like a standard walkthrough that's predictable, you'll keep people engaged longer and they'll stick with you longer. Number 5, show the room as someone sees it, not how they walk through it. Now you can still do a walkthrough video, but instead I challenge you to try to make a video that focuses on how people's eyes move through a property versus how their feet move through a property. Now, I used this example earlier, but when you walk into a home, are you going to notice the room first, or are you going to notice the floor-to-ceiling windows first that are, overlooking a canyon? Real example in this tutorial, by the way. Or if a person walks into a particular kitchen, are they going to notice the kitchen, the room first, or are they going to notice the red knobs on the wolf range? When you do your walkthrough, pay attention to those details, take a mental note of them, and go through and film the property that way and just see what you come up with. You can always take the wider shots and rearrange them, but if you can kind of shoot with that in mind, you'd be surprised with what you'll turn out with. Number 6, shoot at the right time of day. Now, we're all photographers and we know that light is everything, and that doesn't change for filmmaking. In fact, I would argue that the right time of day when it comes to filmmaking is actually much easier with photography than it is with video. With photography, you can actually manipulate the light much easier with flashes and modifiers and things like that. But with video, you really don't have that option. You can manipulate maybe a little bit, but you're going to be doing a lot of adjusting and it's going to take a really long time. So the best thing to do is to shoot the property at the right time of day. Now, I knew this, but at the same time, most of us are real estate shooters. We can't just determine when we're going to spend this time. A lot of times it's up to the homeowner and the realtor. But if you can push for a certain time based on the location of the home, you're going to get much better results. So here's a few things that I learned in this section. In general, shooting in the mornings is going to give you a softer blue light, and the late afternoons are going to give you a warm golden light. I knew that you had softer light in the mornings and in the afternoons, but I didn't understand the blue light versus the warm light. And again, this is in general, this isn't always the case. But that's a good thing to know, because if you look at the home ahead of time and you determine which type of light would work best for that particular home, it's going to make all the difference. You can also take into consideration where the sun's going to be located. If the sun's going to be facing toward the home, you're going to get harsh shadows, which could be really distracting and actually could probably look really bad. But if you shoot with the sun to the side of the home or behind the home, you're going to get a more even light. Number 7, shoot with the end in mind. Now, I've actually always done this with any other type of video that I've made, promo videos, you name it. I always think about the edit as I'm filming. But for some reason, when I was making real estate videos, I never thought about this. I don't know why. Maybe it was just because I was doing, again, my videos were more informative in nature. So my process was pretty simple. I shoot wide, and I shoot every room in the house, and I do it as close as I could to the order in which someone would walk through the home, and that was that. I didn't put any more thought into it. But now, as I'm shooting, I've learned to, think about how shots are going to transition in the edit. I'm mindful of establishing shots, close-ups, and details, and how they all play together to tell these little mini stories. Number 8, sound design adds magic to your film. I couldn't think of a better title than this. But little known fact that I don't really ever talk about because I kind of forget it myself sometimes, but I actually went to school a long time ago for audio engineering. So I know the importance of sound, especially in a film. It's actually often more important than the visuals in some cases. And Nick sends each of his projects off to a sound designer, who then takes the project and not only cleans up the audio, but adds sound effects like wind and birds or, footprints if needed. And he doesn't only clean the audio up, but he actually designs the sound to match the tone of the film. Now, when you watch one of Nick's films, almost every one of them is sound design, and it's barely noticeable, which is the sign of a good sound designer. Let me just show you a short clip so you can see for yourself what sound design actually adds to a film.
In a time where the world can devalue what gives our lives substance, it is essential to have somewhere to respite. Where do you retreat to when circumstances seem to be exorbitant? What well are you pulling from when your cup needs to be refilled? Life is knitted together in time by intricate moments. Though time is a mere concept, how long can your vessel go without the warm embrace your soul so desperately craves? What space is held for providing security?
Number 9, delegate and outsource. Now, I do this in my own business when it comes to photography and some business-related things. I outsource and I delegate. But I don't do this on my videos. I don't know why. I've done everything on my real estate videos. The filming, the editing, the graphics, any sound effects. I do it all. And while that's fine while you're first starting out, if you want to make films for real estate, you ought to consider outsourcing. Sending things that you're not an expert in off to somebody who is. Nick outsources almost everything except for the shooting and the editing. And even his shooting, sometimes he has somebody come along with him and shoot some additional shots. And also most of his graphics work is outsourced as well. Every project, like I said earlier, is sent to a sound designer to make things sound incredible. Even the writing for his narration is also outsourced. And of course, he hires professional voice actors if you didn't pick that up already. All of this is done so that Nick can focus on his vision and do what he does best. Now, number 10, I know this is pretty cliche, but just hear me out. Number 10 is take your time. I'm someone who really prides myself in being efficient, and prior to this course, I was shooting homes in 20, 30 minutes tops and editing them in less than an hour. I'm not saying take a longer time. I'm just saying be more mindful as you're shooting, and you'll find that it will take you a longer time, but it's going to always yield better results unless you get to the point where you're overthinking it. For me, I always treated real estate videos as nothing more than a walkthrough, just informative in nature, and also I just treated them as an upsell to my clients. It wasn't even until I watched Nick work and saw how he would just obsess over one shot, doing it multiple times to make sure it matched his vision, that I understood what goes into the films that he makes. filming my videos, again, they were more informative in nature. I didn't really care about how they told a story. It was really just give the information, show how big the bathroom is, show how, whatever, show the backyard. That was all it was about. It was not about capturing the person's emotions and sucking them into the video and helping build a connection. So there you have it. There's my top 10 tips that I've taken away from this course. And you guys, there is over 8 hours of material in this course and over 80 videos. And I'm not touting the length of this course. We didn't make this course long just for the sake of being long, but I've been likely in your position. If you're watching this, it's because you likely want to get better at the videos that you're producing. Again, I was an intermediate photographer at best. My work isn't that good. It's technically it's fine, but it was boring and it wasn't really doing anything to engage my viewer. It wasn't really adding any value to my business or the agents that I worked with. They were just informative videos, and I was getting tired of it. I was getting burnt out with them. I wanted to make something more meaningful that will not only increase my brand value, but also the value of the agents that I work with. Also, I wanted to start transitioning my photography business more into an architecture type business, but I wanted to bring video into that. So I wanted to learn how to create better stories that show off the architect's vision. And I couldn't do that with the walkthrough videos that I were doing. So I needed to see how Nick thought about this. This course is not, there's 2 other real estate video courses that I can think of, and this is not those courses. This is completely different. This course is more of a job shadow. It's 80% job shadow, 20% information. That said, let's go ahead and get into what's inside the course. So the first thing is the course introduction. This is where you meet Nick and myself. We want to tell you a little bit about who we are, get you comfortable, because you're going to be dealing with us for about 8 hours as you watch it. You're also going to see a link to the private Facebook group that we have. Now, we created a private Facebook group for anybody who attends this course because we wanted to create a safe environment where you could post your work, ask any questions you want, and not be ridiculed. We know it's intimidating to post and get feedback, but we understand that in this course it's going to be a lot smaller. There's not going to be thousands of people. It's probably just going to be a couple hundred people of everybody who's in it for the same reasons. They just want to improve their video skill, and it's just going to be a safe community. We're not going to tolerate, any kind of misbehaving or ridicule or anything like that. We want it to be a safe community. You're also going to see a section with any kind of resources and links that we might have. So we do have some discounts that we're trying to get through certain manufacturers. As of right now, we have 2 locked in and about 5 others we're having conversations with. So as time goes on, we're going to update that list with different discount codes that we have available and any other downloads that you might find valuable. Finally, in the first section, we talk a little bit about our affiliate program. Now, every student that comes through this course gets an affiliate link. And if you're not familiar with the concept of affiliate links, what it is, it's basically anytime you refer somebody to our course, we want to give you something back. So if you are just a regular student of this course and you sign up, you're going to get 5% automatically. It may take a couple days to add it to your account, but you will have 5% affiliate commission. So anytime you refer somebody, you're going to get about $15 or so back. If you send us a written testimonial of your experience taking the course, we're going to give you 10%. And if you send us a video testimonial, we'll give you 15% commission. We do all this as incentive to, 1, to get people to our course, but 2, we want people to give authentic feedback and reviews, and we don't want you to do that just for free. We want to give you something back for that. So just think about it. If you send us a video testimonial, for example, you're going to get a lot of that money back that you paid in investing in this course. Okay, the second section is the business and administrative section. This is a fairly short section. We didn't want to get into the weeds about business related things because it's going to vary depending on where you're at in the world. But we do touch on a few of these subjects. We talk a little bit about different ways you can invest in your business. We talk a little bit about how you can think about pricing, not necessarily what to charge, but how to think about charging. We talk about Facebook advertising. We show you just in general how the Facebook Ads Manager works. I actually create an ad for my business because I hadn't created one before, and then I go back later and I show you the results of those ads that I created. I've heard a lot of people in the past in the Facebook group say that advertising doesn't work, and I'm here to show you that it actually does work, It's just a different way. You have to look at it different. After that, Nick actually comes on and talks a little bit about how he prepares a quote when an agent calls him for a shoot, and then he also talks about how he pre-plans for a shoot. In the third section, we talk about the tools of the trade. A lot of it, Nick covers a lot on camera settings. We talk about gimbals, and just this is more of a section for beginners. If you're intermediate, you might get something out of this. If you're advanced, you probably won't get anything out of this section. You don't have to spend your time doing that, but this section is more just for the beginner user. Now, sections 4, 5, and 6 are where this is where the meat of the course is. This is the job shadowing sections, okay? In section 4, we do a full house walkthrough. Now, we show you everything from the minute we arrive and do the walkthrough to when we leave. Everything is documented except for when we switch camera angles. This section is pretty long. But we literally show you every thought, every decision, every mistake that Nick made as he was on location. One thing I want to point out about this section is that anytime you watch a tutorial, what you normally see is that the instructor will find the most expensive, most beautiful home with all the nice staging and everything, perfect light. This is a 1,300 square foot home in south central Minnesota with snow outside. It's not pretty. There's nothing special about it. It's decorated okay, but it's very minimal. It's just lightly staged. But there's nothing special about this house. But because we wanted to show you what it was like to actually film in an everyday house and show you how that you can apply the same principles no matter the size of the home. The next section is the post-production section. And this section shows Nick editing that entire standard home from start to finish. You see his entire process working in Final Cut Pro. And for those of you who don't use Final Cut Pro, I actually come on and I show you how editing is done in both Adobe Premiere as well as DaVinci Resolve. In other courses, you really only see the programs that instructor uses. And I understand why, but it just so happens that Nick and I use 3 different programs between the two of us. And we thought, hey, why not show everybody, what the different options are. And also show you the similarities, show you what the pros and cons are for each program. So you see a full edit from start to finish in Final Cut Pro, and then you see a partial edit in Adobe Premiere and DaVinci Resolve, showing all the same things that Nick showed. We cover stabilizing, speed ramping. I know speed ramping is a little controversial, but it's nature of the beast. We need to do it sometimes. And we also show you color correcting and some light editing. Now, the next section is kind of the exciting section. This is the more fun section. It's a shorter section. It's not super long, but this is a lifestyle shoot section. Now, we don't cover an entire shoot from start to finish because we already did that in the standard home, and honestly, the principles are exactly the same. There's no difference in shooting a a luxury home versus a standard smaller home. What we wanted to show you in this section was how Nick actually works with talent when on location. So we have one actor on location, and what Nick does throughout this is he recreates some of the shots that he did in a recent lifestyle video that he made. Now, the home we were in, it was 10,000 square feet. It was $10 million home on 125 acres. It was a beautiful home. We don't show you the entire home. We show you how you use actors within that home to tell stories and motivate camera movement. It's all there. The next section is commentaries. Now, we couldn't possibly go out and film all these epic shots to show everybody. There's no time for that. It's just not realistic. Nick has collected, he's been doing these for nearly 8 years. So there's so many clips that are his favorites. We just want to talk about those. So he literally takes you behind the scenes on these clips. I think there's about 10 of them, and he shows you, his thought process. He shows you the original look of them and why he chose to shoot them the way he did, how he lined those up, how those shots came to be and why they're his favorite shots. It's actually a really helpful section. He also does a full commentary on his Eagle's Nest walkthrough lifestyle video, which is the video that we shot using recreating the lifestyle shoot. And finally, there's section 8, which is bonus content. This is the section where we're going to put anything we couldn't cover within the course or any videos that they just don't align with any of the other course content and they just don't have a home. So we essentially just created a whole section just for bonus content that we're going to add down the road. As you can see, you guys, there is so much in this course, and we're not bragging about the length. I mean, 8 hours is a long time. Most of you will not watch all 8 hours. It's a lot to consume. It's going to take you a while. The length of the course is not a reason to buy this course. The reason you would buy this course is because it's valuable. It's going to show you a different way to look at video, especially if you're at a place that I was, where you're just not putting out the content that you're really that proud of. You're not making content, you're not making videos that are captivating, and they're not really connecting with the viewer. These videos, the lessons that I've learned in this training, in this course, they've changed the way I do video. They've changed the way that I look at the most boring of homes. Since I finished filming this course, the difference is night and day. I filmed probably 5 or 6 videos since we wrapped this course up, and the difference is night and day. See for yourself. This is the last video I filmed before I filmed the course with Nick, before I flew out to California. As you can see, it's boring. There's nothing captivating about this. There's nothing interesting about this. It's a standard walkthrough video. And here's one of the recent videos that I shot. It's not a super interesting house. It's a standard home. It's about 2,000 square feet. It's kind of dark. It's kind of an ugly day. It's a snowy day. There's nothing really all that interesting about this house. But using the techniques that I learned from Nick, there's night and day difference between this video. And this is only my 5th or 6th video since taking this course. Now, I mentioned that 10 other people had gone through this course. We did have, from the beginning, we had 4 beta testers that joined, and we showed them the very first videos that we did, and we've basically redone almost all of them. These 4 users are at all different skill levels. We had one person who was literally just starting video. They were just getting ready to film their first video. And we had another person who had just started recently. We had another person who was doing video, but they're doing it with their phone. And we had another person who's been doing video for years. They're an expert level. Let me just read a few of those testimonials to you. Tasty Human said, "Have you ever just wanted to job shadow someone who's really good at what they do? Nick consistently creates some of the most spectacular cinematic real estate videos I've seen. For me, the most informative part of this course was watching Nick choose his shots, understand why and how he was shooting, and then actually see it in camera." Andy Schwartz said, "Nick and Jordan have created the missing link in real estate filmmaking tutorials. Having been in the industry for as long as I have has made it harder and harder to find value in the educational materials out there. I found tremendous value in seeing the workflow and methods used to create Nick's cinematic films." Christine Cole says, "So happy that there's finally a comprehensive course geared for real estate cinematography. This course has so much useful content, particularly for those just jumping into videography. Most of us in this profession are visual learners, and watching Nick work while reviewing his process has really changed the way I approach documenting a home." Camille Davis said, "The opportunity to learn in the comfort of your own home on your own time was a huge plus for me being a working mom. I loved how Nick takes his time to explain his thought process behind the creative side. This class really gives you everything. It's so nice to see the how-to on real estate versus having to Google a million tutorials hoping you find the right one. I am super excited to start applying all that I have learned from this course." So there you have it, you guys. People are finding value in this course no matter the skill level. Again, this course was created with the intermediate filmmaker in mind, but it's very much beginner friendly. Even if you're an advanced filmmaker, there's something in here for you. If you're somebody who has people under you who you want to train them how to do video, this is also a great course for them. That said, let's go ahead and get into the Q&A. I know this isn't live, but we have gotten several questions. A lot of them are repeat questions. But there's about 9 or 10 here that I'm going to go over, and these are from previous webinars as well as some from the course or people who asked us outside of the course. So some of the questions we have: do you guys include a business side, including pricing, marketing, etc. in the course, or is the course more the creative aspect? Okay, so there is a whole section on the business end of things. Again, we only cover it lightly. We didn't want to give any hard and fast rules on what you should do in your business because every part of the world is different. Some of you are going to have competition. You're going to be in a higher priced market. There's certain things we couldn't cover, but we wanted to give some general, ways of thinking about some of the business topics that might come up. So we do cover that a little bit. One of the nice things is we are going to have the Facebook group. So a lot of the times you guys can ask any of the questions you have inside of the Facebook group, and the community will help answer those as well. Does this course tailor to one type of camera? No. We filmed the entire course on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras, 4K and 6K cameras. But Nick also films. We actually both film our videos on those cameras as well. But there's nothing specific to those cameras in this course that you need to know. As long as you have a camera that shoots in log, one that shoots 4K preferably. You don't even need a 4K camera. You can even just have a 10K or 1080p camera. But no, this course is camera neutral, so it doesn't matter what kind of camera you use. Are the course files downloadable or streaming? Yes. Again, the platform is Teachable. You can download the course content within the Teachable app so that it's viewable for offline viewing. And again, you can access the Teachable website from anywhere in the world. Just starting with video, does your course cover anything just starting with video, do you cover anything in the course about using drone and camera work together? Yes, we do lightly touch on drones. There's not a whole lot to talk about. We will have another section that we're going to be putting out in the spring that will show more of the some techniques with the drone. It's just the weather wasn't really cooperating with us. I mean, we were in southern Minnesota when it was snowing out. Our Northern California shoot, we were just simply running out of time, and we didn't cover a lot, but we do cover it a little bit. One of the sections in the lifestyle section covers how you use a drone with actors, and it does show some of the camera movements that Nick does with drones. We also have a whole section where we cover drone settings and the different types of drones. So there's plenty to learn about drones in there right now, and hopefully that answers the question. Do we cover the business side of things? Yes, we do cover the business side of things. Will the price of this course ever go up? Okay, so we don't know. I will talk a little bit about the pricing. Now, I did mention several times that we had some beta testers go through this course. The people that went through this course actually determined the price of this course. Everybody agreed on it before we settled on the price that we did. Depending on the feedback we get, in time, the course price could go up. It could come down. It's really hard to say. As of right now, we definitely think that the course is valued appropriately. Almost everyone has said it's actually underpriced, and that isn't just me marketing. People have literally said that. It's underpriced, but it is in a comfortable spot to where everybody should feel comfortable purchasing this. So there's that. Is there a guarantee? What if I don't find any value in this course or don't learn anything new? Okay. I'm of the belief that you're never too knowledgeable to learn something new. I mean, it's just a fact of the matter. And this is also very subjective. You might watch the course and not find anything valuable. I think it's going to be very rare where there's somebody who actually watches this entire course or even 25% of it and doesn't find some kind of value in it. What kind of equipment do you use? Okay, again, we use the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras, both the 4K and 6K version. We use mostly Sigma lenses, no particular reason, it's just that's what works on our cameras. We both use the same exact gimbal setup, a Ronin S with a 6K on there. We use Tilta camera cage, the Tilta follow focus, the Nucleus Nano. That's pretty much our go-to kits. What is the return on investment for this course? I can't answer that for you. It depends on what you take out of this and apply it, how you apply it to your business. Again, this is very subjective. Some of you are already experts in your field, and you may watch this and say, hey, that's a cool way of looking at it. I'm going to apply that, and it might save you some money. That might save you some time. Again, you might be able to increase the value. There's a section that I made on how to create Facebook ads. That alone could increase your value. It all depends on what you take out of this course and what you apply to your business. But there is value in this course that as long as you apply it, you will get your return on investment several times over. Now, that said, I promised you a special tip on how you can get your money back that you invested into this course. Now, I do show a more thorough version of this technique inside of the course in the bonus section. But in the meantime, here's what you do. You pull up your past listings, you find a house that you really liked that you thought would make a really nice video. message that agent and say, hey, Susan or whatever their name is, I have a new video product that I'm working on. I'm going to be charging a roughly $600 for this on the low end. I would love to shoot 123 Main Street that we did back in the spring. I see it's still on the market. Would you be open to doing this at 50% off? And see what they say. $300 in your pocket. You even get a little bit more back, and then just tell them, hey, it's going to take me about 2 or 3 hours if that's okay. You know, if Susan doesn't respond, do it to Jim, do it to Bob, do it to Diane. Just do it until you get somebody. It just involves a message, and just see what happens. Chances are you will get somebody to respond. You will quickly get your return back. Okay, guys, that said, that is it for this webinar. Thank you again so much for investing all your time today. I mean, I know that this was a long pitch that you guys had to sit through, but I definitely appreciate it. For those of you who do sign up, we look forward to seeing you in the community. Please make sure you post your work, your progress, any questions you have that we didn't answer in the course or in this webinar. We really want to foster a community of growth and just one that of respect as well. So you should feel completely safe posting your work. At this point, I'm rambling. You guys, thanks again for watching. I will let you be on with your day.